The C family Christmas reunion. It was Christmas morning, and the C family was preparing for their long-awaited reunion at their parents' mansion in Lekki, Lagos. For years, the C family had become well known, not just for their wealth, but for their laughter-filled gatherings, their quirks, and their love for each other. This Christmas would be no different. The C family consisted of 7 children: Caro, Chinedu, Chika, Chism, Chioma, Sarah, and Cynthia. All were married except for Caro, the last-born and self-proclaimed beauty queen. Each of the children had their unique lifestyle, and this Christmas, they were all coming together, flying in from different parts of the world. Chinedu, the eldest, lived with his wife and 3 children in London. A successful tech entrepreneur, Chinedu was the definition of soft life. As his family packed their designer luggage into their Range Rover, his wife teased him. "Nedu, do you think Caro will show up in another ridiculous designer outfit? I bet she'll try to outshine everyone again." Chinedu chuckled, shaking his head. "You know Caro now, always trying to remind us she's the queen." Meanwhile, Chika, the second-born, and his wife, prepared for their journey from New York. Chika, a surgeon, had a calm demeanor, but his wife, a fashion designer, was already thinking about the outfit war that might break out. "Babe, you know I have to look fabulous. Caro won't show me up this time." Chika smirked. "We are going to Nigeria to celebrate Christmas, not for a fashion show, my love." Sarah and his family were flying in from Dubai. Sarah, a business tycoon in the oil industry, was the most laid-back of the bunch. He wasn't too concerned about how anyone would dress, but his children, excited about seeing their cousins, were already rehearsing their British-Nigerian accents to impress the others. Chism, Chioma, and Cynthia were all flying in from different states within Nigeria. Chism, living in Port Harcourt with her husband and 2 daughters, had spent the week shopping for gifts, knowing her siblings would try to outshine her. She muttered to herself as she packed, "I won't let anyone claim they brought the best presents this time." Chioma, from Abuja, known for her love of expensive jewelry, ensured her diamond-studded necklace was carefully packed. She smiled to her husband, "Let's see who outdoes me this Christmas." Cynthia, residing in Enugu, was the peacemaker of the family. As she prepared with her husband, she sighed, "I hope there won't be too much quarreling this year. You know how Caro can be." Caro, the last-born and only unmarried sibling, was already at the Lekki mansion. She had arrived in her brand-new BMW convertible the day before, dressed in head-to-toe Gucci, with her expensive handbag hanging casually on her arm. Caro believed she was too beautiful, too wealthy, and far too glamorous for just any man. "Marriage is not for everyone," she would always say. "Besides, who can handle all this beauty and wealth?" As Caro prepared for her siblings' arrival, she glanced in the mirror, admiring her flawless skin and perfectly styled hair. She laughed to herself, imagining the chaos that would unfold as soon as her siblings arrived. "Let the games begin," she whispered. By afternoon, the mansion was buzzing with activity. Chinedu and his family arrived first, quickly followed by Chika and the others. Hugs, laughter, and a few snide remarks were exchanged as everyone settled in. Chinedu and Chika, as usual, engaged in a friendly debate about whose kids were smarter. "My son got accepted into the best private school in London," Chinedu boasted. Chika replied, "Well, my daughter just aced her exams in the States. We might have a future Harvard graduate on our hands." Meanwhile, Sarah was busy telling stories of his life in Dubai, entertaining the family with his tales of business deals and desert safaris. His wife, sitting nearby, rolled her eyes playfully, knowing Sarah could exaggerate when he was in a good mood. The sisters, Chism, Chioma, and Cynthia, were gathered around their mother, helping her prepare the Christmas feast. "I hope Caro doesn't try to make a scene today," Chism muttered as she chopped vegetables. "It's inevitable," Chioma replied, "but let's just enjoy ourselves." As expected, Caro made her grand entrance into the dining room just as the meal was about to be served. Dressed in a shimmering gold gown that looked more appropriate for a red carpet event than a family Christmas dinner, she smiled smugly as her siblings gawked. "Caro, we're eating jollof rice, not attending an award show," Chinedu teased. Caro shrugged. "Well, one must always look their best. Besides, you all know no one here can compete." Her comment sparked a round of teasing from her siblings. Chika laughed. "Caro, you and your big mouth." Chioma, ever the sarcastic one, added, "If only being beautiful was a competition, you'd have a trophy by now." Cynthia, trying to calm the situation, offered Caro a glass of wine. "Let's not fight today, please. It's Christmas." But the evening wasn't without its misunderstandings. At one point, Sarah and Chinedu got into a heated debate about who had contributed more to the family's wealth. "I built that second house in Lekki," Sarah boasted. "But I was the one who paid off Dad's medical bills last year," Chinedu shot back. Their wives quickly intervened, calming the situation before it escalated further. As the night wore on, the family gathered around the Christmas tree, exchanging gifts and sharing stories from their lives abroad and in Nigeria. The children ran around, giggling and playing, while the adults sat back, sipping expensive champagne and reminiscing about their childhood. At the end of the night, despite the quarrels and misunderstandings, there was an undeniable bond between the siblings. They laughed, teased, and loved each other fiercely. Caro, though still adamant about her single status, softened as she watched her nieces and nephews play. "Maybe one day," she thought to herself, "but for now, I'm still the queen of the C family." The next morning, the C mansion was alive with the sound of children's laughter, the clinking of dishes, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries. Caro, of course, was the last to emerge from her room, wearing a silk robe and oversized sunglasses, despite the fact it was still early. She strutted into the dining room where her siblings were already seated with their parents, eating a hearty breakfast of akara, yam, and eggs. Chinedu was the first to notice her arrival. "Oh, Her Majesty has finally graced us with her presence." "Don't start with me this morning, Nedu," Caro replied, settling into her seat with a dramatic sigh. She reached for a slice of toast, then glanced over at Chisholm, who was feeding her youngest daughter. "At least some of us still know how to relax and take care of ourselves." Chisholm, never one to let a jab go unanswered, raised an eyebrow. "Taking care of yourself? Caro, you're the only one here without children. Of course you have time to sleep in. Some of us have actual responsibilities." "Oh please," Caro waved her hand dismissively, "I'm not going to rush into having kids just to prove a point. Besides, I don't see why you all act like it's so hard. You have nannies, don't you?" This comment didn't sit well with Chioma, who was sitting next to their mother. She put down her fork and looked at Caro with a mixture of irritation and disbelief. "You really have no idea, do you? Having nannies doesn't mean you stop being a mother. You wouldn't understand because you've never had to take care of anyone but yourself." "Oh, here we go," Caro rolled her eyes, "the matter act. Please, Chioma, spare me. Just because you chose to have a dozen kids doesn't mean the rest of us are obliged to." "I have 3 children, not a dozen," Chioma snapped back. "And at least I'm married. You're so busy with your clothes, cars, and looking down on everyone that you're going to end up alone." The room fell silent for a moment. Their mother, who had been quietly sipping her tea, finally spoke. "Chioma, Caro, that's enough. This is Christmas. We are here to enjoy each other's company, not to tear each other down." She shot Caro a meaningful look. "And Caro, being part of a family means making room for others, not just yourself." Caro didn't reply, but she pursed her lips, clearly annoyed. She hated being told what to do, especially when she felt like she was being judged by her married siblings. To her, they had all settled, choosing a life of diapers and school runs while she was free to live her best life. But deep down, Caro knew there was a small part of her that wondered if they were right. Was she missing out on something? After breakfast, the siblings gathered in the living room, where the conversation naturally shifted to the one topic that always led to arguments: who had the most successful career. Chica, ever the calm and level-headed one, started off innocently enough. "So, how's business going, Caro? I heard you closed that big oil deal last month." Caro, never one to downplay his achievements, leaned back in his chair and grinned. "Yeah, it was a good one. We are expanding into the Middle East now. Dubai's been great for networking." "Oh, here we go," Chinedu interrupted with a smirk. "Mr. Dubai, I'm surprised you haven't bought a yacht yet to complete the look." Caro shrugged. "Why buy a yacht when I can charter one? Besides, you London folks are all about appearances. At least in Dubai, we do real business." Chinedu wasn't about to let that slide. "Real business? Please, Caro. You move money around and call it business. Meanwhile, I'm over here building tech solutions that are actually changing the world. Do you even understand how complex some of our algorithms are? It's not all oil and gold, you know." Caro, who had been silently scrolling through her phone, suddenly chimed in. "Oh, here we go. The 'I'm smarter than everyone else' speech. Nedu, we get it, you're a genius. But can your algorithms buy you a Birkin bag?" The room erupted in laughter, but Chinedu wasn't amused. "Caro, not everything is about material things. Maybe if you spend less time on designer websites and more time thinking about your future, you'd realize that." Chisholm, sensing the tension building, tried to steer the conversation in another direction. All right. Let's not turn this into a competition. We're all doing well in our own ways. That's what matters." But Caro, who never missed a chance to needle his elder brother, wasn't done yet. "Sure, we're all doing well, but let's not pretend that moving to London was such a big deal. Dubai's where the real money is these days. London's old news." Chinedu shot back, "Oh really? And how's that bubble going? Dubai might be flashy, but when it comes to real financial markets, London is still the global hub." Chica, who had been sitting quietly, decided to join in the fray, turning to Caro with a sly grin. "Caro, you might want to remember that the last time you tried to one-up Nedu, he bought that new car before you even had the chance to blink." Caro scowled at the memory. "That was a one-time thing. Besides, I'm doing just fine. I don't need to prove anything." Caro, ever the instigator, couldn't resist adding fuel to the fire. "Well, at least you're both contributing to the family. Some of us," she glanced pointedly at Chisholm, "are just sitting around waiting for their husbands to make all the money." Chisholm's face flushed with anger. "Excuse me. I run a consulting business from home, in case you forgot. Just because I'm not gallivanting around the world like you doesn't mean I'm not working." Caro shrugged, her tone dismissive. "Sure, consulting. From home. That's cute." Chisholm stood up, ready to launch into a full-blown argument, but their father suddenly appeared in the doorway. "What's all this noise about? Can't a man get some peace in his own house? I thought we agreed this year would be calm," he said with mock frustration, though a smile tugged at his lips. The siblings all quieted down, muttering apologies under their breath. But the tension lingered in the air. Later that afternoon, it was time for the annual Christmas gift exchange. This tradition was a favorite for the C family, but it often led to even more competition. Everyone wanted to give the best and most expensive gifts. The children went first, eagerly unwrapping their presents, which ranged from the latest tech gadgets to designer clothes. Then it was time for the adults. Chinedu presented his parents with an envelope. Inside were plane tickets for a fully paid luxury cruise to Greece. "I thought you two could use a little vacation," he said proudly. His mother's eyes lit up as she hugged him, but Sarah wasn't about to be outdone. "Well, that's nice, Nedu, but I got something more personal," Sarah announced, handing their parents a set of keys. "I bought you a beach house in Mauritius." The room erupted into murmurs of surprise and admiration, and Sarah grinned, clearly satisfied with his gift. But Caro was already rolling her eyes. "Oh, how original, Sarah. A house. What's next?" "A private island." Cynthia, who had been sitting quietly through most of the exchanges, decided it was time to step in before things got out of hand. "Okay, can we please just appreciate everyone's gifts? It's not a competition." But Caro wasn't done. She stood up dramatically and pulled out a small velvet box. "I don't have a house or a vacation to offer, but what I do have is priceless." She opened the box to reveal a glittering diamond bracelet. "One of a kind. Imported from Italy." Chioma raised an eyebrow. "A bracelet? For Mom?" "Caro, she barely wears jewelry." "It's not just any bracelet," Caro snapped, "it's an heirloom. Something to pass down through generations." Their father chuckled. "Well, as long as your mother likes it, that's all that matters." Their mother smiled warmly at Caro, carefully accepting the bracelet from the box. "Thank you, Caro. It's beautiful. I don't wear much jewelry, but this is something special." Caro, satisfied, tossed her hair dramatically. "I knew you'd appreciate it, Mom. Unlike some people in this room." She shot a pointed look at Chioma, who crossed her arms with a smirk. "Oh, I appreciate good jewelry, Caro. I just hope you didn't buy that because you're compensating for something." Chioma quipped, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Chinedu, always one to diffuse tension with humor, chimed in, "Well, as long as nobody gifts another pet this year, I think we're good." The family laughed, recalling the infamous year when Sarah had brought home an exotic parrot from Dubai that wouldn't stop talking for weeks. But the laughter didn't last long as Sarah, not one to be outdone, raised his hand for attention. Wait. I've got something for Caro." The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to Sarah as he pulled out a small, sleek envelope. Caro eyed him suspiciously, unsure of what to expect. "What now?" "A spa voucher or something equally predictable," she said, half joking, but with an edge in her voice. Sarah smiled mysteriously. "No, this is much better. A 1-year membership to an exclusive dating service in Lagos." The room erupted in laughter. Chika was laughing so hard he nearly fell off his chair, while Chizim and Chioma giggled uncontrollably. Caro, however, was not amused. Her face went from surprise to anger in seconds. "You've got to be kidding me." Caro fumed, snatching the envelope out of Sarah's hand. "You think I need a dating service?" Sarah, still laughing, shrugged. "Well, since you haven't found Mr. Right yet, I thought I'd give you a little help. It's a premium service, only the best." Caro glared at him, her face flushed with irritation. "I don't need help finding a man, Sarah. I can have any man I want." Chinedu, trying to keep the peace, said, "Come on, Caro, he's just teasing. Don't take it so personally." But Caro was in no mood to be teased. "This is exactly why I don't bother with these family gatherings. You all think you can poke fun at me because I'm not married. I'm perfectly happy the way I am." She stormed out of the living room, leaving the family in an awkward silence. After Caro's dramatic exit, Cynthia, the peacemaker, sighed heavily. "Cyril, did you have to push her like that? You know how sensitive she gets about this." Cyril shrugged, looking slightly guilty. "I was just joking. I didn't think she'd take it that seriously. Well, she did, Chisholm said, shaking her head. Caro may act like she's above it all, but deep down, she feels the pressure. Their mother, who had been quietly observing the entire exchange, finally spoke up. Caro will be fine. She's strong, but you all need to remember, being the youngest and seeing all her older siblings married can't be easy. She paused for a moment, then added, but Sarah, that was a bit much. Maybe go and talk to her. Sarah hesitated. Alright. I'll go apologize. He stood up and made his way toward the back garden where Caro had likely gone to cool off. Caro was pacing in the garden, her arms crossed and her face still red with anger. Sarah approached her cautiously. Hey, Caro. Can we talk? She spun around, glaring at him. You've got some nerve, Sarah. A dating service. Do you really think that's funny? Sarah sighed. It was a joke, Caro. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Well, you did. You and the others always act like there's something wrong with me because I'm not married yet. Sarah sat down on the stone bench, looking genuinely regretful. Look, I didn't mean to make you feel bad. We all know you're successful and beautiful, heck, you've done things most of us can't even dream of. But you can't deny that you've got some pretty high standards when it comes to men. Caro crossed her arms tighter, still defensive. I'm not settling, Sarah. I refuse to marry just anyone. Sarah nodded. And that's fine. I get it. But you could give people a chance. Not every guy who approaches you is beneath you. He paused, then added, we just want you to be happy. That's all. Caro softened a little, her anger beginning to fade. I know. I just hate being the target of everyone's jokes. Fair enough, Sarah said. I'll lay off the teasing from now on. Deal. Caro sighed, sitting down next to him. Deal. But seriously, if you try to set me up with someone, I'll kill you. They both laughed, and the tension melted away, replaced with the familiar sibling camaraderie they shared. Later that evening, after all the misunderstandings had been mostly patched up, the C family decided to make the most of their time together. Chika, who had been secretly planning a surprise, announced, everyone, let's head to the poolside. We're having an impromptu Christmas party. His wife had already arranged for a DJ to come and play music, and before long, the mansion's outdoor pool area was transformed into a festive party scene. Twinkling lights were strung up, and drinks were flowing. The children were in their pajamas, running around the pool, while the adults relaxed with champagne and cocktails. Chinedu started the fun by challenging Cyril to a dance-off, much to the delight of everyone watching. Come on, Mr. Dubai, show us your moves. Cyril, not one to back down from a challenge, grinned and got up, busting out some awkward dance moves. The entire family burst out laughing, especially when he attempted to moonwalk and nearly tripped over himself. Caro, not one to be outdone, decided to join the fun. She handed her drink to Chioma and strutted into the middle of the dance floor, her heels clicking on the tiles. Alright, boys, let me show you how it's done. She proceeded to outshine them both, dancing with the grace of a queen, as her siblings cheered her on. Chisholm and Cynthia were chatting with their parents, reminiscing about Christmases from when they were kids. Remember the year we all tried to cook Christmas dinner and ended up burning the turkey? Chisholm laughed. Oh, don't remind me, their mother said, shaking her head with a smile. We had to eat jollof rice and stew instead of the grand feast your father wanted. Cynthia, ever the sentimental one, sighed happily. I'm just glad we're all together this year. It doesn't happen as often as it should. Their father, sipping his wine, nodded in agreement. Yes, it's good to have you all here. No matter the arguments, no matter the misunderstandings, we are family. And that's what counts. As the night wore on, the alcohol continued to flow, and inevitably, another argument broke out. This time, it was between Chioma and Chism. The two sisters had always had a competitive streak, but tonight it came to a head. "I don't understand why you're always acting like you have it harder than the rest of us, Chism," Chioma said, clearly frustrated. "We all have kids. We all have careers. You're not the only one juggling things." Chism, already feeling defensive, shot back, "Excuse me. You have your fancy government job and a husband who practically raises your kids for you. I'm doing this on my own half the time." Chioma, refusing to back down, raised her voice. "You act like your life is so much harder, but we are all doing our best. You're not special. Underscored for, so now I'm not special. Wow, Chioma. You've always looked down on me just because I don't live in Abuja and have some high-profile job." Chioma and Chism's voices were growing louder, their words biting deeper. The party that had been full of laughter and joy was now tense as everyone watched the sisters argue. "You think I have it easy because I live in Abuja?" Chioma snapped, her face flushed with frustration. "You have no idea what I go through every day. Just because I'm not constantly complaining doesn't mean my life is perfect." Chism rolled her eyes. "Oh please, Chioma. You're always acting like you've got it all together, like the rest of us are beneath you. You have your government job and your high society friends, while I'm down here juggling my business, my kids, and my husband. It's exhausting." The tension in the air was palpable. Cynthia looked over at Caro, who had been watching silently, her expression unreadable. "Do you think we should step in?" Cynthia whispered. Caro sighed. "They need to let it out. Otherwise, this would just keep festering." Before things could escalate further, their father suddenly stood up from his chair, his voice calm but firm. "Enough, girls. We didn't come together for Christmas to tear each other down." He walked over to Chioma and Chism, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. "Family is about love, not competition. You both work hard. You both have challenges. But instead of comparing who has it worse, why don't you appreciate the fact that you have each other?" Both sisters looked at each other, their anger slowly melting away. Chism took a deep breath, her voice softer now. "I'm sorry, Chioma. I didn't mean to lash out." Chioma nodded, the tension leaving her shoulders. "I'm sorry too. I guess I've been holding on to things I shouldn't." The two sisters hugged, and the rest of the family clapped, relieved that the argument had ended peacefully. Scene 15, the family prayer. The next morning, the C family gathered in the living room for their annual family prayer. The festive atmosphere from the previous night had given way to a more reflective mood as the family prepared for their final tradition before everyone headed back to their respective lives. Their parents had invited the family pastor, Pastor Clement, to lead the prayer. He was a tall, gentle man with a soothing voice, and his presence always brought a sense of calm to the household. "Before we pray," Pastor Clement began, "I want to remind you all of the importance of unity in a family. You are all blessed to have each other, to have parents who have raised you in love, and to have the means to come together in celebration. But it's easy to let pride, jealousy, and misunderstandings come between you." He paused, looking around the room at each family member. "Remember that family is a gift. It is not perfect, but it is precious." The siblings all glanced at each other, the weight of his words sinking in. Even Caro, who often tried to distance herself from her family's emotions, felt a pang of guilt. She knew deep down that despite her differences with her siblings, they were the only ones who truly knew her. Pastor Clement then led them in a heartfelt prayer, asking for God's blessings over the family, for peace in their homes, and for love to prevail over any differences. The family held hands, their eyes closed, their hearts united in that moment. As the prayer came to an end, their father looked around the room, his eyes misty. "I'm proud of each of you. No matter what happens, this family will always be your home." The siblings exchanged smiles, a sense of peace settling over them. Whatever arguments or rivalries they had, they knew that their bond as family was unbreakable. After the prayer, it was time for the inevitable goodbyes. The large family gathered their bags, packed their gifts and souvenirs, and prepared to head back to their various destinations. The three siblings from abroad, Caro, Chika, Chinedu, were heading to the airport to catch their international flights. Meanwhile, Cynthia, Chioma, Chisholm, and Caro were preparing to drive back to their states. Caro, standing next to her sleek car, hugged each of her siblings tightly, lingering a little longer than usual. She had realized during this visit that, despite her wealth and independence, her family's love was something money couldn't buy. "Take care, everyone. Maybe next year I'll bring someone special with me," she said with a wink, causing everyone to laugh. Chioma, still feeling emotional from their earlier argument, gave Chisholm a warm hug. "Let's try to call each other more often, okay? We shouldn't only talk when we're angry." Chisholm nodded, wiping a tear from her eye. "Agreed. I'll call you first." Their parents stood at the door, watching their children pack up, a mix of pride and sadness in their eyes. "Drive safe, all of you. And remember, the door is always open," their mother called out. As each car pulled out of the driveway, the C family waved goodbye to their parents. Cynthia's Chioma back to Abuja, Chisholm to Port Harcourt, and Caro to her luxurious penthouse in Lekki. The three siblings heading abroad drove together to the airport, reminiscing about the trip as they navigated the busy streets of Lagos. "I think this was our best Christmas yet." Chinedu and his family headed to Lagos, smiling as she looked out the window. "Even with all the drama, I wouldn't trade it for anything." Sarah laughed. "Yeah, it wouldn't be a C family Christmas without a few arguments." Chika added, "But at the end of the day, we are family. That's what matters." As the plane took off, each sibling felt a sense of peace, knowing that despite their differences, they were connected by the unbreakable bond of family. And so, the C family returned to their busy lives, but the memories of that Christmas, with all its laughter, arguments, and love, would stay with them until they gathered again for the next reunion. Despite the misunderstandings and the differences in their paths, they knew that family was their greatest gift.